as you, and this is another thing that you and I were talking about, these lessons that exist in history, in literature, and it's funny because it's things that are written by privates, it's things that are written by corporals, it's things that are written by majors and colonels and generals, and it's things that are written by emperors, and it's things that are written by conscripts, and everything in between. And every time I, even that right there, it's like I get another angle to appreciate and to realize. And then you start, I'll cover Bella Wood on this podcast for sure. Yeah. But I mean, when you read about Bella Wood at all, it was just savage battle.
Yeah.
Savage battle. I mean, there's one Medal of Honor for a guy that just, his buddy didn't have his gas mask. So he took off his own gas mask and gave it to him and then died. I mean, it's unbelievable. And so you were telling me you kind of opened back up the history books, the war books.
Yeah. I used to, certainly as a kid and early in my career, I would read military history all the time. I mean, some of it was an assignment. We'd become a lieutenant in the Marine Corps, and there's a kind of a reading list that you want to go through, and you do some of it kind of, they call it professional military education, PME. But I used to be really interested in it, and I just kind of do it on my own. A lot of it was aviation centric, but I got away from it. And for the latter half of my career, I didn't do military history at all. It just wasn't something that really captivated me. And in the last year and a half or so, mostly because of this podcast, I've actually gone back and reread some of the books. And you and I have talked about a lot of different ones. With the Old Breed, Eugene Sledge. So that was a book I read a long time ago, and it was an incredible book, very powerful. But I went back and reread that book a little while back, and I had stopped thinking and paying attention to the meanings. I was almost paying attention to the chronology in the past. Okay, this is happening here. This is the lesson learned, and this is the movement, and it was all kind of very sanitary. And I lost what it meant to hear their stories. And I used to read them, and I think I just try to pay attention to what happened and not really learn as much from him or from them. And I've read more in the last year than I had in, honestly, Jocko, probably the previous 5, if not more. And I'm reading all the time, and once you start sort of digging into that world, there's more books than I could ever read in my entire life.
Absolutely.
They're everywhere. And it has renewed the way how much I read, but it's also changed the way I read. And it's been a really good experience for me. I have learned a lot in the last year.